What's up everyone, Jun with the Sushi Man here, and I'm back with another video for my izakaya series. This dish is probably one of the most popular items ever and is served at practically any izakaya, and that is AGEDASHI tofu. Deep fried tofu that has a crispy exterior while the inside still remains soft and silky, all in a clean umami rich dashi broth that balances it all out. I remember making this for makanai, which is a meal for the employees, back when I worked at my parents' restaurant, and everyone absolutely loved it. It's a great dish all year round and definitely a crowd pleaser. And plus, it's very simple. This is one that you'll for sure want to learn how to make. Alright, without further ado, let's get right into it. The term agedashi refers to the Japanese cooking method where an ingredient is lightly fried and then served in a dashi sauce or broth. The actual proper name for this dish is agedashi tofu, but most of the time it's simply referred to as agedashi, since tofu is by far the most common ingredient used. And the T in tofu is pronounced more as a D in this case, and that goes more into learning the Japanese language itself, which I won't get into here. Anyways, moving on to our ingredients. First, the most obvious and important, the tofu. Now you can use a few different types depending on what you prefer. I have a 14-ounce block of medium firm tofu here, which is what I recommend. But soft tofu can work great as well. It's just a little harder to handle. Now personally, I'm not a fan of using extra firm tofu though, because I like the contrast of that crispy exterior with the soft inside, which you don't get as much when you're using firmer tofu. But again, it's up to personal preference. The only one I say stay away from is silken tofu. It's just too soft and it's extremely hard to handle when you're trying to fry it. Alright, next we have some katakuriko, which is potato starch. And we'll need about 4 tablespoons of it to coat the tofu. Now you can use cornstarch, but I find that potato starch gives it a better result. But if cornstarch is the only one you can find, then go for it. Don't let that stop you from making this. And then we need some oil to fry it in. I just use regular vegetable oil, but you can use canola or something else that's neutral. Now for the sauce, or tsuyu is what we call it. We're going to need about 1 cup of dashi stock. And if you don't know how to make this, check out my dashi video with the link up here. It's really simple and it tastes better when made from scratch. However, if you don't have time or just want to make it easier, get some dashi powder and mix it in with some water. The amount depends on the type and brand of dashi, but typically for like hondashi, it'll be about 1 teaspoon per 1 cup of water, roughly. Okay, next we have about 3 tablespoons of soy sauce, and then 2 tablespoons of mirin. And that's it for the sauce ingredients. Now, technically that's all you need to make agedashi, but it wouldn't be right without some toppings. So let's go over those real quick. Now, these are all optional, but trust me, it'll make the agedashi that much better. First one is daikon, which is Japanese radish. I have about a 2-inch piece here that we'll be grating down, which we call daikon oroshi. Next, we have about an inch piece of fresh ginger, which we'll also be grating. And then a couple green onions. Also some katsuobushi, which are dried bonito flakes, about 2 tablespoons of it. And then lastly, some shichimi togarashi, which is Japanese 7-spice. This adds a bit of heat to it, but again, totally optional. Alright, that's all the ingredients. Now let's start prepping everything. The very first thing we're going to do is open the tofu package and then drain it. Alright, now we're going to cut this down to about 2-inch cubes or rectangles, depending on the size of tofu you have. In my case, I'm going to cut this into 6 even squares. So we're going to go right down the middle horizontally and then into thirds this way. Now from here, we have to get rid of the excess moisture from inside the tofu. And do not skip this step. It is very important because the tofu out of the package has too much moisture. So if you try to deep fry it as is, it'll be like the Bellagio water fountain but with hot oil. Yeah, no fun. So we're going to place this on a couple sheets of paper towel so that it can absorb that water coming out. And then we'll place another paper towel on top. Now we need to put something on top that will compress it a little. Doesn't have to be anything too heavy though. The last thing you want to do is squash the tofu. So I'm just going to use another plate and place it right on top just like this. Now we leave this for about 15 to 20 minutes. And while we wait for the tofu, we'll get our toppings and sauce ready. But first, let's start heating up our oil. So I'm going to be using my wok, and I have about 2.5 inches of oil in there. Now, it is a bit overkill since we don't need this much oil space, especially because we'll be frying it in batches. but this is my dedicated deep frying pan, so that's what I'll be using. You can obviously use a smaller pot or pan and use less oil if you want, but make sure to have enough where at least half of the tofu is submerged in the oil. Okay, now we're going to turn this on to medium-high heat. Alright, now on to our toppings. I'm going to start off with the daikon. So the first thing we want to do is peel the skin. Now you can use a knife or a peeler, whichever one you feel more comfortable with. And now we're going to grate this down. Alright, now from here we're going to gently drain this and then squeeze out the excess juice. Now you want to be careful not to squeeze out too much here. Just tilt it and gently hold and push on it slightly. We don't want the daikon to get dry, but rather keep that moisture in there. Alright, that's about good there. And it should still feel wet, but without any of that juice dripping. Alright, now let's grate our ginger. So same as the daikon, I'm going to peel this real quick. And then we're going to grate this as well. Okay, now for the green onions. So I've already cut the ends and cleaned these. And basically we're just going to slice this as thin as we can. Alright, and that's it for the toppings. Let's move on to the sauce now. And this is super easy. We just add these ingredients into the pot and wait for it to boil. So first the dashi stock. Then the soy sauce. And then the mirin. And now we'll just turn this on to about medium-high and wait for it to start boiling. Okay, once it starts to boil, turn down the heat to the lowest setting and we're going to leave it there so that it keeps warm. And now the tofu should be fully drained, so let's get ready to start frying. Alright, so first let's get our tofu and starch ready. And you see how much moisture came out of this. The paper towel will most likely be soaked. Now using a pan or plate, we'll lay out the tofu on a paper towel again. And then we'll dump the potato starch on the other side. Now we're not going to coat this quite yet. It's key to coat this right before we start frying, otherwise the tofu will absorb the starch and it will result in soggy and sad looking agedashi. And we also want to have everything ready, like our cooling rack. You can use a plate lined with paper towel as well. Okay, so now we have everything ready and we just need to check the oil temperature. And we want it to be between 340 to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. I have my infrared thermometer here, which makes it super easy. But if you don't have one of these, or a deep frying thermometer, you could check by tossing in some small clumps of potato starch. So just dampen your fingers a little bit, and make a tiny little clump of starch, and toss it in. If it sizzles lightly at the top, then it should be around the correct temperature. But of course, a thermometer is the most accurate way, so it might be worth getting one if you plan to fry things a lot. Alright, so let's check the temp real quick. Okay, 350, 349, that's good. Now we're going to dredge our tofu in the potato starch and immediately dump it in the oil. And I'm only going to do half at a time so that it doesn't change the temperature of the oil too much. And we want to make sure it's fully coated on all sides. And I like to knock off any excess starch by tapping it gently like this. Alright, and now in it goes. And then we'll immediately move on to the next. And now we're going to let this fry for about 3 to 4 minutes, turning it over halfway through. Alright, it's been about 3 minutes now, so I'm going to take these out. Shake off the oil a bit. And you'll be able to tell when to take it out because the color will become kind of this golden brown, and also you can feel the exterior is hard when you touch it with your chopsticks. And look at that. Now we'll clean the oil and onto our second batch. Alright, now we're ready to start plating. So I have a bowl here. And I'm going to lay 3 of these in here, but of course you can do 2, 4, or 1, however you like. And then we're going to add some of the daikon oroshi on top. And then the ginger right on top of that. And then we'll crush a little bit of the katsuobushi on top. And then some green onions over it all. And the last part is to pour some of the hot tsuyu or dashi sauce on there. And there you have it. Legit izakaya style agedashi tofu right in your own home. And it was super simple, right? And it's best to eat this while it's hot. You want the tofu to be crispy but absorb enough of that sweet and savory umami filled dashi sauce. And then you have all the flavors and textures of the toppings to go with it. Man, it's no wonder this is one of the most ordered izakaya dishes around the world. And now, like all my izakaya series videos, onto my pairing recommendation. I mean, there's a reason why this is so popular at izakayas. It's great with beer, sake, and can go well with lighter cocktails and wine. It's super versatile, but since agedashi is a lighter dish with a lot of delicate flavors, I wouldn't pair it with anything that'll overpower it. Instead, go with like a light, crisp white wine or a ginjo or jumai ginjo sake. Like this bottle of kikusui here. It's easy drinking, clean, light, and a very well-rounded sake that goes well with so many dishes. Alright, hope you enjoyed the video and definitely give this recipe a try and let me know in the comments how it goes. And really quick before you go, are you a sushi chef in training or have always been wanting to make sushi but don't know where to start? Well, I have the perfect solution for you, and that is my book, How to Make Sushi at Home, a fundamental guide for beginners and beyond. Whether you're looking to become a professional itamae or just want to impress your friends and family at home, this book will help you out. It's full of recipes, tips, and step-by-step tutorials that's easy to read and follow along. It's a great gift for the holidays as well. And plus, traditional Christmas dinners are getting boring. Try something new and fun like a make your own sushi party. Links are in the description for those that are interested. Alright, good job guys. Now you can go learn about Japanese sake and how to pair it with these awesome dishes with the video right over here. Thanks for watching and I'll see you on the next one. Kanpai! いただきます。やっぱうまいな、揚げだし。あ、美味しいです。